Hello everyone and welcome back. Based on Bernard Cornwell's novels, The Last Kingdom retells the narrative of King Alfred the Great with his quest to combine the several kingdoms in what becomes England. However, in today's video, we will be talking about The Last Kingdom plot holes that make no sense. So, when does The Last Kingdom take place? It tells the narrative of the battle between the Saxons and the Danes in 9th and 10th century England, when the country was divided into several different kingdoms that were invaded or destroyed by the Danes. The days of Lindisfarne and sea raiders are long gone by this time. The Vikings occupying Britain had become settlers, lords, and kings. Season 5, which just published on Netflix, is dated in AD 918, which we know for sure because of one key death. What is the plot of The Last Kingdom? The story follows Uhtred of Bebbanburg, a Saxon who was reared as a Dane, as he struggles to reconcile his contradictory loyalties between his vows, which he takes numerous, his ethnic heritage, and his thirst for vengeance. What begins as a straightforward revenge story, Uhtred taking back his native land in Northumbria from his usurping uncle and avenging the death of his adopted Viking father, quickly devolves into a history-adjacent Vikings versus Anglo-Saxons epic because Uhtred finds himself in the kingdom of Wessex, where Alfred the Great dreams of expelling the Northmen from all of England and forming a single nation, which would not be accomplished until the reign of the grandson. The show is based on Bernard Cornwell's Saxon Stories novels, now called the Last Kingdom series due for the show's success. The 13th and last book, Warlord, was released in October 2020. What is the true history behind The Last Kingdom Season 5? First, Uhtred was a fictional character. There seemed to be a real Uhtred. While there is no historical line of Uhtred, son of Uhtred, there's a few historical parallels, including an ealdorman called Uhtred who battled the Vikings and married King Thelred. Professor Lion Lavelle states he was active during the Viking Age, and his reputation shows that he was held in high respect, at least in areas of Northumbria. This Uhtred was not a contemporary of Alfred the Great and his descendants in the 9th and 10th centuries, Lavelle says, but maybe discovered in the early 11th century. In The Last Kingdom, this is also Thelved's wish, but it's not to be. Thelhelm pays the region's ealdorman, high-ranking nobles, to appoint his grandson Uhtred as Thelf's successor, only for Edward the Elder to assassinate the ealdorman and take Mercia for himself. After losing Mercia, Ifwin vanished from history. Throughout Season 5 of The Last Kingdom, Ifwin is somewhat of a MacGuffin. She never rises to power in Mercia, and she flees for her life after Edward captures her throne. But she is not safe for long, as too many people believe she's indeed the key to a kingdom, and she is imprisoned in Bebbanburg, where she awaits marriage to Scotland's king. The last fight to recapture Uhtred's house is fueled by his knowledge. It's also a useful piece of fiction. There is no record of what caused Edward to remove Ifwin in Mercia, and there is no trace of any resistance to her deposal. It is claimed that Ifwin was sent to Wessex, but little further is known about him. Next, the actual Elflin actually succeeded Ethelfled as the Lady of Mercia for a brief while. The death of Theld and the problem of the Mercian successor is one of the season's key crises, and while the ending is the identical in both the drama and real history, the trip there is considerably different. Thelf's ultimate wish was for her daughter Ifwin to succeed her as Lady of Mercia when she died in real life, probably of dysentery according to Janina Ramirez. In The Last Kingdom, this is also Thelf's wish, but it's not to be. Thelhem pays the region's ealdorman, high-ranking nobles, to nominate his grandson Uhtred as Thelf's successor, only for Edward the Elder to assassinate the ealdorman and take Mercia for himself. However, it appears that true Ifwin ruled for a short time, either 6 or 18 months, according to how the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle is interpreted. Alex Bugart comments, "It's impossible to emphasize how rare Ifwin's succession was. It's uncommon for one woman to replace another in any age, but it was unheard of in the early Middle Ages. Although there is no proof of any of the wicked schemes shown in The Last Kingdom, Edward did march north after this era to seize Mercia as his own. While the Constantine of Scotland invaded Northumbria, he actually didn't battle Edward of Wessex. Thelhelm's plotting culminates into a conspiracy to stir revolt, depose Edward the Elder, and place his grandson Uhtred as King of Wessex and Mercia in Season 5. He approaches King Constantine II of Scotland for help, igniting a series of events that culminates in the Battle of Bebbanburg. Despite the fact that the circumstances are fictional, Constantine II of Scotland did make war in Northumbria in 918, the year that Thelf died, and so when Season 5 of The Last Kingdom takes place, it was not, however, a battle with Edward of Wessex, Thelstan, or even the Saxons. At the Battle of Corbridge, a few miles south of Bebbanburg, Constantine faced out against Ragnar Almer, a Viking warrior who had lately come from Ireland, had claimed Northumbria for himself. As a result, Constantine had an odd friend in Uhtred, often spelled Uhtred, of Bamberg, was one of Bernard Cornwell's hero's probable real-life equivalents. The fight was a draw, but it was a strategic win for the Vikings. Thus, Ragnar was able to seize York and be named King of Northumbria. Next, Rongvalder was an actual Viking, and a good one. Although Rongvalder was a genuine Viking warrior, he was not regarded as Sigtyr's brother as shown in The Last Kingdom. Ragnar Almer, King of Northumbria as well as the Isle of Man, is the early 10th century, is a vague inspiration for him. Ragnar appears to be a fearsome figure that Rognvalder, who is characterized as deceitful and incompetent. What they have in common is that they both become rulers of York. In The Last Kingdom, Edward the Elder bestows his lordship on Rognvalder, who stays as overlord. In the episode, Rognvalder's ultimate fate is unclear. After a strategic success against King Constantine II of Scotland at Corbridge in Northumbria, Ragnar seized York, but he was not received with warm arms. He encountered opposition from the Danes of York, who had previously converted to Christianity since he was still a pagan, something that would become increasingly standard through the Viking world. During Ragnar's rule, the Danes of York would have offered Thelt their surrender. Janina Ramirez adds, securing the loyalty of Danes of York would have been Thelt's greatest success. The actual Thelt died just before promises could be fulfilled, therefore it was not to be. Sigtryggr and Rognvaldr weren't brothers. Sihtric and Ragnar, the historical Vikings on whom Sigtryggr and Rognvaldr are based, are not regarded brothers, but they may have been relatives. Both are said to be members of the Umber dynasty, which dominated most of the Irish Sea region and is thought to be derived from Ivar the Boneless, who was one of Ragnar Lothbrok's sons. Sihtric, who arrived from Ireland in AD 921, succeeded Ragnar as ruler of York, in a reversal of what is shown in The Last Kingdom. Ifward was born in 1902 to Edward the Elder and Ifflade, but nothing is known about his life other than the fact that he had only died 16 days following his father in AD 924. His grandfather Thelhelm is dedicated to ensuring that Ifward becomes king of Wessex. The Last Kingdom, to that goal, he starts a war between Christians and Danes, and then a war in between Saxons and Scots when that isn't enough. Surprisingly, the genuine Ifward may have been king of Wessex. Although he's not commonly regarded as such, the only piece of evidence is a 12th century manuscript known as the Textus Rofensis, which listed Ifward among the West Saxon rulers. Edward's marriage to Edgifu resulted in the birth of a future monarch. After Exwin, who birthed to Ithelstan, and Ifflade, who gave birth to Ifweird, Edgifu became Edward the Elder's third wife. They have a baby boy, Edmund, before the conclusion of season 5, who became king of the English following Athelstan's death in AD 939. Will there be any more of The Last Kingdom? There will be no further complete seasons of The Last Kingdom, but there will be a final feature film titled Seven Kings Must Die. The plot is sparse, but if it follows the pattern of Berman Cornwell's works, we may already know the outcome. In 2018, Cornwell told History Extra that the Battle of Brannaburn in 937 would bring the Last Kingdom trilogy to a close with an actual historical event. Because the fight signified the start of England, it has to be featured in the series. That is all we have for today's video. What do you think of some of these The Last Kingdom plot holes that made no sense? Did you catch them while watching the show? Did we miss any big ones? Let us know what you think down in the comments.